You use the word being. Can you explain what you mean by that? Being is the eternal, ever-present, one life beyond the mirrored form of life that are subject to birth and death. However, being is not only beyond, but also deep, within every form as its innermost invisible and indestructible essence. This means that it is accessible to you now as your own deepest self, your true nature, but don't seek to grasp it with your mind. Don't try to understand it. You can know it only when the mind is still, when you are present, when your attention is fully and intensely in the now. Being can be felt, but it can never be understood mentally. To regain awareness of being and to abide in that state of feeling realization is enlightenment. 这一段也很重要。这个 being 这个概念在这个灵修的这个在灵修这个范围内的话，这个 being 我感觉它更像是佛教里讲的，我们说明心见性的那个性，明心见性，见性成佛。When you say being, are you talking about God? If you are, then why don't you say it? The word God has become empty of meaning through thousands of years of misuse. I used it sometimes, but I do so sparsely. By misuse, I mean that people who have never even glimpsed the realm of the sacred, the infinite vastness beyond that word, use it with great conviction, as if they knew what they are talking about, or they argue against it, as if they knew what it is that they are denying. This misuse gives rise to absurd beliefs, assertions, and egoic delusions, such as my or our God is the only true God, and your God is false, or Nietzsche's famous statement, God is dead. The word God has become a closed concept. The moment the word is uttered, a mental image is created, no longer perhaps of an old man with a white beard, but still a mental representation of someone or something outside you, and yes, almost inevitably, a male someone or something. Neither God nor being nor any other word can define or explain the ineffable reality beyond the word. So the only important question is whether the word is a help or a hindrance in enabling you to experience that toward what it points. Does it point beyond itself to that transcendental reality, or does it lend itself too easily to becoming no more than an idea in your head that you believe in, a mental idol? The word being explains nothing, but nor does God. Being, however, has the advantage that it is an open concept. It does not reduce the infinite invisible to a finite entity. It is impossible to form a mental image of it. Nobody can claim exclusive possession of being. It is your very essence, and it is immediately accessible to you as the feeling of your own presence. The realization I am, that is prior to I am this or I am that. So it is only a small step from the word being to the experience of being. 他这个书中经常会有这个休止符一样的，就是音乐里那个休止符一样的符号。这个符号其实它的意思是，当你读到这里的时候，你应该停下来思考一下他回答的这一段话。这一段话主要就是探讨这个你就是说前面提到的这个 being 这个概念跟 God 这个概念到底是不是一回事。然后那他的回答就是先来讨论了一下这个 God 这个概念，然后最后就说回来说这个 being 跟 God 是怎么样的不同。其实 being 可能更加在这个含义上更加宽广一点，而且它不需要一个就是一个比较具象化的一个 mental image。因为 God 通常大家都把它具象化，把它拟人化成一个白胡子老头这样的一个具象化的形象。但是 being 就是没有任何形象的。What is the greatest obstacle to experiencing this reality? Answer: identification with your mind, which causes thought to become compulsive. Not to be able to stop thinking is a dreadful affliction. But we don't realize this because almost everybody is suffering from it, so it is considered normal. This incessant mental noise prevents you from finding that realm of inner stillness that is inseparable from being. It also creates a false mind-made self that casts a shadow of fear and suffering. We will look at all that in more detail later. The philosopher Descartes believed that he had found the most fundamental truth when he made his famous statement, "I think, therefore I am." He had, in fact, given expression to the most basic error, to equate think with being and identity with thinking. The compulsive thinker, which means almost everyone, lives in a state of apparent separateness, in an insanely complex world of continuous problems and conflict, a world that reflects the ever-increasing fragmentation of the mind. Enlightenment is a state of wholeness, of being at one and therefore at peace. At one with life in its manifested aspect, the world as well as with your deepest self and life unmanifested, at one with being. Enlightenment is not only the end of suffering and of continuous conflict within and without, but also the end of the dreadful enslavement to incessant thinking. What an incredible liberation this is. Identification with your mind creates an opaque screen of concepts, labels, images, words, judgments, and definitions that block all true relationship. It comes between you and yourself, between you and your fellow man and woman, between you and nature, between you and God. It is this screen of thought that creates the illusion of separateness, the illusion that there is you and a totally separate other. You then forget the essential fact that underneath the level of physical appearance and separate forms, you are one with all that is. By forget, I mean that you can no longer feel this oneness as self-evident reality. You may believe it to be true, but you no longer know it to be true. A belief may be comforting only through your own experience. However, does it become liberating? Thinking has become a disease. Disease happens when things get out of balance. For example, there's nothing wrong with cells dividing and multiplying in the body. But when this process continues in disregard of the total organism, cells proliferate and we have disease. The mind is a superb instrument if used rightly. Used wrongly, however, it becomes very destructive. To put it more accurately, it is not so much that you use your mind wrongly. You usually don't use it at all. It uses you. This is a disease. You believe that you are your mind. This is the delusion. The instrument has taken you over. Question. I don't quite agree. It is true that I do a lot of aimless thinking like most people, but I can still choose to use my mind to get and accomplish things, and I do that all the time. Answer. Just because you can solve a crossword puzzle or build an atom bomb doesn't mean that you use your mind. Just as dogs love to chew bones, the mind loves to get its teeth into problems. That's why it does crossword puzzles and builds atomic bomb. You have no interest in either. Let me ask you this. Can you be free of your mind whenever you want to? Have you found the off button? Question. You mean stop thinking altogether? No, I can't, except maybe for a moment or two. Then the mind is using you. You are unconsciously identified with it. So you don't even know that you are its slave. It's almost as if you were possessed without knowing it, and so you take the possessing entity to be yourself. The beginning of freedom is the realization that you are not the possessing entity, the thinker. Knowing this enables you to observe the entity. The moment you start watching the thinker, a higher level of consciousness becomes activated. You then begin to realize that there is a vast realm of intelligence beyond thought. That thought is only a tiny aspect of that intelligence. You also realize that all the things that truly matter, beauty, love, creativity, joy, inner peace, arise from beyond the mind. You begin to awaken. OK， 这里有个休止符。这最后这一段，其实我觉得非常重要。这个跟佛学，因为这个作者，实际上在他开悟以后，他是学了大量的佛学的东西。可能他开悟的这个经历，加上他学佛学的这些理论，因为我读下来，我觉得他这个跟佛学的几乎是完全一致的。